This is the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.
Wilmer behind the back, spinorama, he scores! What a goal by Jeremy Wilmer!
Discussion.
Into the net with a shot, he scores! Oh, and Mike goes 4-2, Western Michigan.
Opinion.
Back into the near circle, fires, he scores! Hysteria here in Hockey Valley as Penn State upsets number 2 Minnesota.
Special guests and your listener questions.
The icing is waved and it's over! Western Michigan has won it. The Broncos are the Frozen Four champions of 2025.
Taking you through the world of college hockey, here are your hosts, Adam Roden and Mike McMahon.
All right, here we are, back in the saddle again. Mike and I, this is Adam, as we are returned to the duo for our College Hockey News Insiders podcast. Thanks to Mike for holding down the fort last week in my absence, as I was at my third consecutive Mets camp, which we'll get into in a second. But I was going to say, it was good to be sort of not aware of anything going on because, all my sports teams keep losing. So it was good to be in that dark hole. But how are the Patriots 8-2, by the way?
I have not brought it up because I almost feel bad at this point.
Yeah, you should.
I got a number of people, actually a few that are other Jet fans too, that are like, how did this happen? Like, you got the quarterback twice? Like, how did this happen twice? Like, we've been looking for one for 20 years and you got two? It happened. You got another one? And I'm like, hey man, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and they didn't even have a second overall or third overall pick, as the Jets squandered two on in the last 6 years. May was what, like 15th? What was he?
Well, no, that was Mac Jones.
That's right.
May was 4th, I think.
That's right. Yeah, so much. Right. Mac Jones, boy, forgot about him. So back from the sun. As I said, Mets camp, third straight year. I've gotten into this thing now where in my old age, apparently, I can still play baseball. So, I mean, how well is, I guess, subjective. You'd have to see it to know. But, I played hockey largely on foot for people around the country. Probably not aware of the culture of deck hockey back east. But anyway, I did that for 15 years. And as I was getting up there, my doctor was like, well, maybe you want to try something like golf, which I do plenty. But baseball I can still do. But, the thing with baseball is people don't realize is that you do, run in quick, short bursts, and it's always out of the blue. You don't know when it's coming. So anyway, I started in this habit of going to these camps, and they're a little pricey, I will say. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this. But there's guys who've been going for 20 years, and it's a whole big thing. I mean, it's hard to explain unless you go. You think you're going for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to rub shoulders with major league players, and you're at Mets camp in Port St. Lucie in their minor league facility spring training facility, and everything is top notch. I mean, they treat you like a major leaguer there in terms of the trainers and the locker room and the whole 9 yards, and that's all part of the experience. But it is an expensive way to play 8 baseball games, which I've done in other venues for a lot less money. But
I got kids that play youth sports, that play baseball, and it might not be much less than what I'm spending now.
Yeah,
when they get older and they're done playing, it might just be like, hey, tell my wife I'm just going to reallocate some of those funds and I'm going to go to Fort Myers.
You might as well. The Red Sox do have a pretty decent camp from what I've heard, and we actually play against them. There's this tournament in Nashville that I was at early October where you're playing against the other camps' teams. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, there was an over 50 division, and we played the Red Sox. They had a couple different teams, as a matter of fact. That one we happen to have Howard Johnson, the former Mets slugger, as our manager. I don't know if the Red Sox had a major leaguer as their manager there, but Howard Johnson just so happens to live down there. I mean, so you go to these camps, and they're, the camaraderie is great. You think it's once in a lifetime. You go, and then you're like, man, this is awesome. I mean, after a while, it's not even just the major leaguers, which it's still cool. You hang out with them, chit chat. I mean, I've had breakfast with Doc Gooden 4 times. I'm not sure he remembers me any subsequent time, but every time I come to the locker room, he gives me a fist bump. I'm like, he doesn't know who I am, but he's just still fist bumping me, so that's good. But after a while, they're just guys, So it's just you just kind of and then all the other guys who come every year, it gets to be sort of a family, so to speak. So it's hard to not go, even though it is getting expensive. I mean, some of the guys who go there are multi-millionaires. I mean, maybe even more than that. I don't know. I'm not going to get into it all, but I mean, I'm just like I'm just scraping by to come here. But the ability to play 8 games in that environment in 4 days. So the point is that this time around, I've been playing now again for 3 years. I hadn't played in quite a while before that, and got to the point where I was like, I was having a good camp. And the first year I went, I was like, my quads were dying after like one day. So I'm like, I got to do something. So the next year I played in the summer league, and I was working out before, and everything was much better. This year I thought I was doing pretty well because I had just played like 11 games in early October and my summer league. And I thought I was doing okay. Well, this is going to sound weird, as I was saying to the people at camp. Don't take this the wrong way, but like the first 2 days there out of the 4, I was like on fire. I think I was 10 for 14. I was on base every time. Well, all
that's
that running
levels.
Yeah. Yeah, but all that running, I completely pooped the bed in the important games that the so-called playoff games at the end of camp, because I could no longer like lift any limb after 2.5 days there. It was I have been home now for like 4 days, and I am just barely now able to walk up my stairs. It was comical, actually. I did pitch though. I hurt my arm like 35 years ago, so I've been pitching sidearm, and apparently I have a new calling because I did have the best ERA in camp, so that was good. But the guy who I just barely beat out was on my team. This is going to be our segue to hockey, folks, so don't worry about it. But good buddy of mine has turned out to be, since I've seen him at all these tournaments and camps now the last few years, his name is Dan Gould. He actually played for Union hockey just before they turned D1.
No way.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, there's a game on YouTube where Union beats RPI, D3 versus D1, like late 80s, and he's in that video, which is kind of fun to see. But pretty good hockey player back in the day, really good baseball player, I must say. And he was down there, and we were talking about this past weekend because Friday the camp was over. We have our award ceremony and whatnot, and we saw that Union was clobbering Lowell. Turned out to be a 7-1 final. And he was, he still sort of keeps in touch with the program and was following it, and he was very excited about that. So, and then the next night after we left, we all left, went our separate ways. But Union comes back and wins again, 6-0 over New Hampshire. So, thus, as I segue beautifully right into the fact that Union is our team of the week. So there you go. We will hear from head coach Josh Hauge in the next segment. So anyway, that's my long-winded. I mean, I could go on and on talking about the baseball stuff, just as I used to. I mean, I loved playing hockey. I miss that. But I guess, you have your hands full these days carrying your kids around from a venue to venue, right? So
yeah, I still golf, which is the one thing I've been able to still sneak in. But even then, like, honestly, like I might sneak it in 6 times a year.
Yeah.
Until life slows down a little bit. So,
I probably play about 40 or 50 times a year. It doesn't help me, by the way. So just so you know.
my main activity lately has been walking the dog because, of course, we have a new puppy we got in the spring, and as expected, I'm the only one that walks her, which is what I anticipated anyway.
Right.
So, we get some activity in the morning. We start with a nice little 3-mile walk in the morning. It calms her down a little bit. And then I've actually gotten back, and just because I needed something to do, to try to test myself a little bit. We've had kind of like a mini home gym forever, and I was like, you know what? I haven't done much strength training since I was in my 20s. That was a while ago, but over the summer, I was like, I'm going to start doing this again. And it's I always like joked with people who were like, once you start, like it gets addictive, but there is something like that competition level, the competition thing kicks in, and it's like, well, all right, I can do this right now, but if I do this for 2 weeks, I bet I can increase by 5 pounds. And it's given me. I'm competing with myself in my own brain, I think, but at least it's something.
Well, yeah, no, I know. I mean, baseball's not much for aerobics, unfortunately, but in golf, I try to walk as much as possible, but.
I do too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and at least like with this, the beauty about this is if we are running around all day, and I'm at work all day, and then taking my kids to practice at night or whatever. One of them will have a license soon, hopefully. But if I get home at 9:30 at night, I can go down and spend time by myself. That's the other thing too. It's nice to kind of just go unplug. I go to the basement. Nobody bothers me. If it's 9, I can do it at 9 in the morning if I have time. I can do it at 9 at night if I have time. It doesn't matter if it's dark or raining. I've got a place to go, and it's like I've
yeah. See, the problem I have is
fortress of solitude.
Yeah. The problem I have is that any other form of exercise besides playing a team sport is boring to me. So I just cannot do it. Can't lift myself off the couch to go running. Or any jogging, biking, anything like that. Just can't do it.
I've been doing this for about 6 months, and I'm almost out of these things to watch, which then I don't know what I'm going to do. But I have gone through because I got a TV down there. I have gone through on the ESPN app, and I've watched pretty much every single 30 for 30 they've ever produced.
Oh yeah,
and that's what I'll watch. Like when I'm down there,
I did that like years ago.
So have I, but I'm rewatching a bunch of them again. I was watching the one about the Islanders actually just earlier today. What's this guy's name? The guy that almost fraudulently bought the Islanders.
John Spano. Yeah,
Don Spano. There you go.
I cannot remember that, but I just went to the Islanders Avs game Sunday here in Denver, and the Avs are just phenomenal. But the Islanders played pretty well actually. They'd won 4 in a row. And that was probably the best of the 5 games they played, and they lost. So. They're like surprising me right now with how well they're playing. I mean, Matthew Schaefer is just phenomenal, by the way.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean he's ridiculous. And showing him against McCarr was interesting because McCarr's obviously.
What if he plays college hockey? Like, what if Matthew Schaefer plays college hockey?
He still could, I suppose. But
right now, looking at how he's playing right now, what that would have looked like, it would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, no, McCarr was 20 when he got to college, and he was bigger, stronger, great hands. Schaefer's faster, more like pure skill, I would say. It's going to be interesting to see how that develops, but he's had a couple years head start here on McCarr, so people are trying to make that comparison. I don't even know if that's really a fair one to make. They're a bit different kind of players, so. But I'll be thrilled, believe me, if he comes anywhere near what McCarr's come to be in the NHL. But what was my point? Oh, I just if you want something to watch, I just got finished watching the Eddie Murphy documentary on Netflix.
There we go.
Yeah,
I've not seen that yet. Yeah, I saw it on the front page the other day, but I haven't watched it yet.
A little light on any sort of negative facts. I mean, I know he's actually there's not much. But I mean, they definitely glossed over a couple things, but it was still great, and he's tremendous. So, all right, we should talk about some college hockey. But like I said, we'll get to Union in a bit. And first of all, though, what's been going on otherwise this past week? Let's take a whip around. I think we should address the elephant in the room here because I've tried to avoid just making this show all about Gavin McKenna all the time, But while I was gone, the rest of the hockey universe seems to have caught up to the fact that he is not doing that great. And I know that he's got like a point a game. We've talked about this to death, and I wrote a column about it before I left for Florida. It's on the front of College Hockey News. And then I kept seeing everybody else. Like this was coming off the Michigan State weekend where it's like, okay, now we're seeing him against Martone. And now it's like, now we get it. But I feel bad because it sounds like now we're dumping on him. But it's like really, I know we've been saying this since the summer that like it was not going to be as easy as people were making it out to be. So I feel like we were way ahead of the curve on that. Now I'd never really seen him that closely before. So, I just figured like he's not a center. And he's not as big as other guys. And he also didn't do that great in the World Juniors, even though, I know he's really young when he was there, but against that higher level of competition. So
yeah,
I thought there was a lot of reasons to be skeptical that he was going to just come in and dominate like crazy. But I figured other people must know what they're talking about. I mean, number one, oh my God, like surefire number one overall pick. Well, now that I've seen him play, like again, I hate to dump on him because it's not his fault that he was somewhat overhyped, but I'm feeling right now similar to the way I felt about James Hagan's last year, who was anointed the number one, and I don't think the same level of hysteria, but he was the preseason sort of favorite to be number one overall, and he dropped to 7. And I never thought he was, when I watched him, he was number one overall. And now that I'm watching McKenna, I'm like, am I missing something? Because, again, he's doing fine. He's doing fine, but all these other scouts now are finally like, oh, we're seeing all the holes. Like, okay, like you watched him more than I did, like beforehand. How did you not see this stuff before? Was it just that easy in the WHL?
I think it could have been a lot younger. He was playing against younger players for sure. And I do think like he wasn't helped by he was kind of the first victim, although it's not like social media is new, but he was the first victim, I think, of the real overhype on social media. I mean, we talked about it in the summer when he committed, and the narrative originally was, is he going to be the first player that scores 100 points? It's like, that was never going to happen.
Right. Even if he was a number one overall.
Exactly. And I think people looked at 200 points or whatever he scored in the WHL last year, pretty close, right?
Yeah.
They looked at that and they tried to transfer it to college and said, well, even if he scores half the number of points, it's going to be 100. And there was, I saw 900,000 images and graphics from all these different people, kind of the influencer culture that were just anointing him as the next Paul Kariya. And no one around college hockey ever thought that was going to happen. So what I think's happened, I think to a certain extent, the fact that he's not on pace for 100 points or not on pace for 80 points, people are thinking it's a disappointing start to his career because the expectations were just unrealistic from the get-go. And that's not his fault.
No.
The fact that people set unrealistic expectations is not on Gavin McKenna. But, he's kind of been what you and I and a lot of people that have watched college hockey for a while expected. He looks a lot like how those other potential high first round picks look, and his game's not perfect. Like there's clearly some things in his game that need to be refined. He's a little too perimeter. He's not real physical. His effort off the puck can be lacking at times. That's why even going back to the summer, I know I wasn't alone. I think you agreed with me. Like we were all, a lot of people were saying, it feels like coming into college hockey before he's ever played a game that Macklin Celebrini was probably the better pro prospect. And then obviously you look what Celebrini has done to start this year in the NHL in just his second season, and he's lighting it up.
By the way, Cutter Gauthier is also kicking ass right now.
He is, yeah. So it was just, I think it was unrealistic expectations that he was never going to meet. And, I also think that his point production will be better the second half of the year than it was the first half of the year because when the puck's in a stick, offensively, he's dynamic. I mean, he's a really good player when the puck is on a stick. That's where he shines the most. And, like you said, he's a little over a point per game right now or right at a point per game, whatever it is.
Only 4 points at 5-on-5.
That's the thing.
You know what I mean?
That's
2
the thing
goals,
that would
2
worry
assists, and one of the goals was from the sideboards off of somebody's leg.
Yep. So I think as he adjusts to college, because all this is happening while he's playing the first 12 games of his college career. As he adjusts, I would expect point per game wise, that probably increases in the second half, but I don't think it's going to increase to 2 points a game. Do I think he could score from now to the end of the year? Could he be 1.3, maybe even 1.5, potentially, depending, if Aiden Fink is back and healthy and he's playing with him, maybe. But again, I think he's going to be right now in the preseason. We were saying, at least I was saying, set the over under at 65. I think he's probably going to finish under that given the start. But I still think he could have a 50-point year if things come together in the second half. He's got some work to do. He's going to have to figure out ways to produce more at 5-on-5. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, this past Friday against Michigan, he was a -4 with no points. So I can tell you for sure that never happened to Adam Fantilli or Macklin Celebrini. So
no, and I also don't think too that they are. And again, we don't have minute time on ice data for when Celebrini was playing, but McKenna's playing 21 and a half minutes a night. I don't know that Celebrini was playing that much.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't
and I
have...
thought and produced better, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say he didn't have, though, a ton of help on that. I mean, obviously they had some skilled players, but he didn't have like the Gauthier, Will Smith, Perot, Leonard type of thing going on, right?
Absolutely true.
So there was that. But as a matter of fact, I'm trying to look.
He had Shane LaChance, I think, was on his line, right?
Yeah.
Did he play with LaChance and Green, I think?
Something like that, or even did Hudson play with him at all? The forward Hudson. I can't remember now. But,
Quinn, he may have. Actually, I'm going back here. In that Frozen 4 game against Denver, he played with Jack Harvey and Shane LaChance.
Right. And it
seems like going through some of the games, towards the end of the year anyway, that season, he was with Harvey and LaChance almost every night.
By the way,
Hudson and Green were together.
Yeah. And I just want to say, like, even if he was dominating college hockey the way that Celebrini and Fantilli, et cetera, did, he was not going to come anywhere near 100 points. But he is not. There's two different things here. That wasn't going to happen no matter what. But he's not even close to that happening. I mean, that's the more concerning thing, I guess. You said he's got some holes. Like, to me, that's an understatement. The stuff that I've seen, it's like, okay. I really hope that he does figure it out sooner than later. Because I hate to see the Schadenfreude start to kick in and like just people dump on him. Because I don't think that's fair either. But there's already talk about how he's dropping in the draft rankings, and his minutes have dropped.
I was just going to say, I'm looking at it here. Yeah, this past weekend, his minutes went down about 3 minutes a night,
and that's without Aiden Fink in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Who's been out injured. So, and the only point he had this past weekend against Michigan was he took a long shot that missed an empty net, and then someone put in Chinda Graves put in basically the rebound for an empty netter, and that's how he got his assist. So that's his only point in the last 3 games. And the one before that was the goal off the leg of somebody on the November 7th game. So the last 4 games, that's how it's really been. And so his only goals this year, he has 2 against Stonehill. One was on the power play, and then at Arizona State, that game winner he had on the power play late in the third period on that Saturday. So again, we've probably spent way more time than we should talking about it, but there you go. How about the Big Ten in general? I mean, LIU beating Minnesota maybe shouldn't be too much of a shock, given that Minnesota's been, I call it a rebuilding year for them. I don't even, people are kind of Minnesota. I don't even really look at it that way. I don't think it's fair to dump on them. I mean, LIU's been playing pretty well. I mean,
I was just going to say, yeah, they're a game under 500. I thought I watched a lot of their games earlier in the year, getting ready to broadcast their game against Merrimack. I thought they outplayed BU on opening night. I thought they deserved to win the Penn State game that they lost in overtime. I thought they deserved to win the UNH game that they lost in overtime. So they're 5-6 right now. I think they could very easily be 8-3.
Well, when you say 5-6, let's go deeper into that, because they are actually 15th in the MPI right now.
Yeah.
Okay?
They've not played a home game yet.
Yeah. Now, why exactly? Now, why is that? Why are they 15th in the MPI? Well, first of all, 3 of their losses are in overtime. Okay?
True.
So they're 5-3 in regulation, and that's all on the road. So their weighted win percentage, if you look at our MPI chart on College Hockey News, is actually .653.
It's crazy.
Okay? So that is, tells you everything. That's a good team. Now, how? I don't know. Like, given the fact that they lost so many of their players when Brett Riley left, Brendan Riley comes in and, is doing magical work there somehow. So I give more credit to Long Island than I do to discredit Minnesota, is my point.
I completely agree. I thought Daniel Durst in the games that I've watched has been fantastic. And there's no like secret sauce here. Like, they just work. They just outwork teams.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's no skill there at all. Like that would be unfair to those guys. And obviously they're Division I hockey players and they're winning games. So they're finding ways. They're certainly skilled players, but they're not as skilled as Penn State. They're not as skilled as Minnesota. They're not as skilled as BU. They're not even as skilled as Merrimack. And they either should have won or did win all of those games.
Well, yeah, and we've already talked for 20 minutes and haven't gotten to a lot of stuff yet, so I don't want to start getting into a lot now, but I did want to touch on that. I mean, Denver sweeping Colorado College, so they continue from where they left off, Team of the Week status. The previous week against Western, I mean, those were good games. I mean, Denver's right there in the mix. They're 3 in the MPI, and they're not going anywhere, So Quentin, they found their goalie in Quentin, was it Quentin Miller?
Yep.
That's, and Polkamp's playing out of his mind. So and Wisconsin had a crazy split, but they're number 2 in the MPI right now. Cornell is 4. They had their 2 losses to open the season. Was it Dartmouth and UMass? But they had a good weekend here this past weekend. Alexis Cornway, their goalie, I think he's tremendous. I don't want to jinx the poor guy, but comes over from the Quebec League, a late recruit by Casey Jones, who just happens to speak fluent French, just by the way. Throw that in there. So I think, I think Cornell's going to be – I said this before the season, but I think they're going to be better than some people think, including their own fans. What else stood out quickly this past weekend? North Dakota had a split with Arizona State. Omaha – well, there's an interesting one. Simon Latkozy has kind of tailed off since we talked about him.
I know.
The goaltender for Omaha.
Yeah.
And actually the backup, if you will, came in and got it wasn't his first start, right? I believe it was his second start. But
I think it was his second. Yeah, he started a game right after Halloween, I think.
Yeah, but Dawson Cowan, 32 saves, shutout of Duluth. And 2 starts, 944 save percentage. So we may see a battle there. It's may be like what happened to Caden Mbarico last year, where Latkozy somehow gets the equivalent of the yips or something. And so we'll see. I mean, he had such a great start, but Omaha's an interesting team. What else am I forgetting?
Well, UConn swept Northeastern, but Lawton Zocker still is playing really well. He was the other goalie we talked about at the same time. But yeah, Northeastern had won 5 straight going into that weekend, and UConn, one of those games was in overtime, but they picked up a sweep. And other than that, in Hockey East anyway, everyone is just beating themselves, which is kind of crazy. That's one thing. I don't know if we talked a bunch about that yet, is just how poor Hockey East non-conference record is in general. Quinnipiac beat up on BU over the weekend. Ooh. You talked about Union sweeping against Lowell in UNH. RPI picking up a win over Lowell too. So 1-5 weekend for Hockey East and non-conference play.
BU was not even competitive in that game.
No, it wasn't close. and right now, Northeastern, who's really riding the goaltender, is 9th in the NPI. UConn is 16, BC's 19, and then you got to go down to 28 to find Providence. It's crazy.
Yeah, and remember I told you before the season I wasn't sure. I was convinced on Providence being a top 10 team. So I think that they're just, I don't know, there's two up and down,
They're very up and down. I know they just lost a game on Saturday night. From what I've seen of the Hockey East team so far this year, I think Providence is the best team in the league. But I don't know if that's saying much because everyone is splitting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, everyone in the league is 500 almost against each other. What I think is going to happen is they have a poor non-conference record. I don't see it getting better. And then I think once we get in the second half and it's league play, they're all going to kind of cannibalize each other. And you could be looking at just 1 or 2 Hockey East teams in the tournament.
Yeah,
that's what I think is going to happen.
It really does look like that right now because, like you said, I mean, everyone's splitting. I mean, even Vermont coming back after losing 7-0, was it, on Friday?
Yeah, it was 7-0 on Friday against Maine in Orno, and then came back and won the next night 2-1.
Yeah, so and I thought Maine was the best team, but they're below Providence right now in the MPI as it stands right now. So. We'll talk some more when we come back on the other side and talk about some of the games coming up. But for now, let's get to our Team of the Week, Union. Head coach Josh Hauge on the other side.
Class, today we're talking men's ice hockey. Open your textbooks. Join thousands of other screaming fans for an in-person experience you have to see to believe. It's the NCAA Men's Frozen 4, April 9th and 11th in Las Vegas. Attendance is encouraged. Passion is mandatory. Buy your seats today at ncaa.com/mfrozen4.
How many teams are in the Men's Frozen 4?
Please leave.
All right, so coming off a big weekend against two Hockey East teams, I mean, that's not only that, but you guys scored 13 goals and allow 1. So I guess you can't ask for much better than that. I mean, you don't want to be too high or too low, during the course of a season, but that's about as good as a weekend as you can get.
Yeah, it was a positive one for us. A lot of different guys chipping in. It was funny how the two games worked. Friday, I believe we had 7 different goal scorers, and then Saturday, Ben Muthersbaugh and Brandon Beer kind of carried the mail as far as finishing, with those guys getting 2 and 3 respectively.
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely want to get to those guys. Like you said, those 7 different goal scorers. I noticed Lowell, I mean, they didn't have a great weekend, but they had been playing pretty well coming in. So, I mean, what did you feel you guys did right in that game? It was like right off the bat.
Yeah, I think, we got up early. We take a penalty and then get the shorthanded goal. And then right after get another chance and draw a penalty and, ends up getting a 5-on-3 a little bit later. And then you score on the 5-on-3 and then score on the 5-on-4. So like in the first 5 minutes, we're up 3-0. And I mean, obviously when you do that, you put a team on their heels, and, I just thought we kind of leaned on them, and it, I don't think it's very indicative of how good UMass Lowell is, because it just, before they even knew it, they're down 3-0.
And then, I don't know if this is accurate, but our box score says that your other goalie played 36 seconds. What happened there?
Yeah, just getting him in his first.
Okay.
Yeah, just he's wanting to get him some action, just so if we ever have to put him in, he's been in the net and knows what it's all about. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure it was right, because I was like, wait a minute. Yeah. But I'll talk about Corpy, though, because obviously then the next night he shuts out New Hampshire. He's just been, along with the whole team, I mean, been tremendous. His save percentage is .927. I mean, he comes over from Michigan. He knew he probably wasn't going to get playing time with when they recruited Ivankovic. And
I don't think that's the case.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case.
Feel free to correct me. I mean,
yeah, no, I just I think it was a situation where maybe had an opportunity to earn the opportunity to be the guy, and I think that's what he was looking for. I mean, he's not somebody that is shy of competition, but had an opportunity to come play with his brother, and right. I think there's some parts to that, and I think Union's a small, tight knit family, and a little different as far as campus size and different things that way.
Obviously, I guess because of his brother with Union, is that how it all got started? I mean, was he talking other schools?
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of people that were interested, and I think when it came down to it, the one thing here is just it's a spot where relationships really matter, and I think players feel that a little bit. It's a little bit different. Like, our guys are together all the time. It's a place where you don't get lost in a big crowd, and everybody kind of knows who you are. So I think those are things that were real appealing to him.
Did you already have your other 2 guys sort of locked in? I know, what was it, Chavette also, he went out. What was the timeline of all that? Like, he went out, you had recruits coming in.
Yeah, so Cameron committed, and then a few weeks later, Kyle decided to go in the transfer portal. And then our other goalie actually decided to go in the transfer portal, so we had to go get 2 goalies. So that was, it was a little bit of a mad dash to get the guys we got, and we got fortunate to get, Braden Gillespie and Brandon Holohan.
So you face Kyle this weekend, right? So what was that like?
I mean, it was weird. He's been he was a great student athlete for us, someone that really helped us, start the turn. And, it's not something that, you like to see. I saw his parents and gave his mom a hug and, shook his dad's hand, and you're just like, it's not the way you want it to go. But I felt like, he did what was best, he thought was best for him. And, he's always going to be a part of our family, and we value what he did for us.
I mean, all this in and out, just as a philosophical question, I guess, it's a whole new world back from, even 10 years ago, right? So how do you mentally handle that? How do you, I ask this to everybody, everyone's got a little different take on it. So, how do you, all the, the ability for guys to come and go so fast, and, they don't even, I guess the kids don't even think twice about it, right? Like, it doesn't feel like they're doing anything bad or anything,
I mean, it's bad on every side of it. You got schools that have 40 guys committed, and they're going to take the best 15, whoever they feel is the best 15. You got players that don't have a sense of loyalty, and they didn't have anything and someone gave them a chance, and then they look for something maybe a little bit different, or maybe what they perceive as better. again, we're trying to do something here where if we give our word, we want to try to uphold it. And, I don't think we're perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we're not going to walk away from someone just because there's, something maybe a little bit shinier. Again, we may tell a guy your role is going to change and you may not play as much as you want, but we don't want to be a revolving door. We want guys that want to graduate from Union. We want guys that want to build something. And, we're really fortunate to have the senior group we have, because I think they started on day one and they've really helped change it. And then we've really benefited from the transfer portal. You look at our roster and there's so many guys that were castaways from somewhere else that have come here and thrived. So we want to be a place where someone can have a second chance and, get someone to believe in them and see what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I am old now, but I don't think of this as like an old man complaint. I'm just curious if, like, from your perspective, you see, like, our kids kind of just raised in a different culture where it just, like I said, like you said, you wish there was more loyalty or feeling like school, like a connection, but like on the surface, it looks bad that kids are bound, but I don't know if they think of it as bad, right? Like they think of it as like, well, this is what I've always been doing. Like, because youth hockey is like this a lot.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's always looking for something a little bit different or a little bit better, and not better, just different. And like, I think it's very rare right now where people are looking in the mirror and saying, what do I need to do to be better? And I think that's, something we're trying to teach here. And we want to be with guys on the bad days when things are really bad and they're not, they haven't played in a few games. We're not going to run away from them and kick them to the curb. Again, they may not love everything we're saying, but we're going to be there for them and try to help them get out of it. And I think that's where a school like Union can really thrive is trying to be that way and making sure the player means more than any outcome. And I think we've had some success because I think our guys are feeling that, and that's the way they treat each other. So it really goes both ways.
Yeah. I mean, you'd like to think that guys, kids and their families see it that way because I think there's something. I mean, this is just me spewing. I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't think, but nice to see kids stick it out. I mean, I always think that's a better for their growth, But yeah. Then by the same time, you have to. I mean, you have a bunch of transfers on your team. You have to take advantage of it when you can because you might, on the other end, lose some guys. So you can't be like just, stubborn about it, right? You have to take those opportunities when you get them.
Yeah, and I think we've done a nice job supplementing guys out of the portal when we've lost guys. So like that's been somebody leaves and able to grab a guy like that's been you look at like we lost a player late and then Parker Lindauer came in and he's had a great career here. In his 2 years. And then, but we also have the stories of like, it would have been really easy for Colby MacArthur to transfer after his first year. He played in, 15 games and he's stuck with it now. And he's a difference maker for us and, plays special teams, both power play, penalty kill. And not too many guys would have stuck with it like he has.
Yeah, he's a good example. Obviously, 6'3" forward, sometimes those guys take a little longer. He's a big guy, but I just noticed from the numbers he's not in the box a lot, so he's not taking dumb penalties or anything like that. So what have you seen specifically about his growth this year?
Well, he's a guy with a really good stick. He he's got great playmaking ability, underrated defensively. Like he's one of the first guys over the boards on the penalty kill, but also had he had a highlight reel goal against UNH with an assist to Parker Lindauer with just beat a defenseman and, right. Instead of shooting it, found him on the back door for a tap in.
Gotcha, guy. I mean, and next on the list of who I wanted, Mudersbaugh had 2 goals. He's from New Hampshire, so I don't know if that meant anything more special to him, but he's a guy who kind of emerged last year. I don't know if you knew what you were getting when he was a freshman, but he emerged with a pretty strong season. It looks like he's following that up this year. Maybe a little slow start, but he's just talk about him and what you need to see from him this year.
Yeah, he's a shoot first type player. He's got the ability to finish from distance. He's really taken some ownership on the defensive side of the game and someone who's spent a ton of time trying to get better defensively. we need him to continue to, get to the net front and traffic areas because he's a big body and he's physical. So like players don't like playing against him when he gets there. He's extremely difficult.
And then Bure's the other one who had the hat trick this past weekend. He's started out at Clarkson a while ago. It seems like forever ago probably at this point. But so, I mean, another big body. I don't know if this is a trend for you guys. I know Cornell has the reputation of having big forwards, but is that something you like to do too?
I think we're a little different, but yeah, I think we like to have some size up front. Obviously it was part of the process recruiting Brandon to Clarkson, and then when he went back to junior hockey, was able to convince him to come here. And I always say if you like a player, if you recruit him, you love him. If you recruit him twice, so
that's right. Oh, that's right. You have, of course, just for people who don't know, you were at Clarkson when that happened, right? That was, but he played. That was your first year at Union that he actually played there, right?
Yeah. So I was probably like the guy who recruited him, and then he commits, and then you end up leaving, which kind of happens from time to time. And it didn't work out, and he left at Christmas and went back to junior hockey, and then was able to come here the next season.
Right, gotcha. So, everyone's been asking me, is Union for real? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't seen you guys enough to make that honest assessment, to be honest with you. So, you tell me. I mean, what does that even mean? Obviously, this is going to be a big test this coming weekend, going on the road to Cornell and Colgate. So I mean, how do you look at it right now?
I love our hockey team, and I mean, it's a situation where last year, like we thought, like we took a good step, and you finished in the top 4 in the ECAC, and I think everybody kind of doesn't know what we are, and we're not like, we don't want to surprise anyone this year. Like, we believe we're good. We want people to know we're good, and we want people's best. I mean, that's again, it's I know our conference is extremely talented, and we know we're going to face a really, really good 2 teams this weekend, and but yeah, we're excited about trying to continue to grow the program and get it back to where it can be.
I think before I go in that direction, I think I made a mistake not asking you more about your defense, since they only allowed 1 goal this past week. Talked all about your forward scoring goals and whatnot, but obviously not all the goaltender, I'm sure. And you've mentioned that some of the forwards you talked about have become better at playing 2 ways, but just their defense unit as well. I mean, they've got to take some credit here.
For sure. I think, you lose. So obviously we lost John Prokop. He signed with Toronto, at the end of last season, a year early. And I think everybody was really concerned about, what we would have, because, he had a ton of valuable minutes for us. But you look at obviously Nick Young, who's our captain, back, who's a, hard to play against defensemen. But then, just some new players that have really kind of stepped up and emerged for us. Tyler Dunbar has been outstanding. Etienne Lessard is a freshman that I think is one of the best freshmen in college hockey. You have Will Felicio and who transferred from Michigan. Tyler was from Colorado College, and then Carter Rose from Clarkson. All guys that have come in here and made a big difference to our D corps, as well as the guys we had returning in. And
Dunbar's the one who seems to be racking up the most on ice time. So
yeah, he's been really good for us, and again, plays in all situations. And I think we have a good balance, because you have guys like Nick Young, Carter Rose, DJ Hart, and Cal Mel that are all killing penalties and playing those type of hard minutes. And then you got Felicio, Dunbar, and Lessard, all on the power play. So they're all a little bit different. We got size, we got some guys that are really good skaters. So it's a really good and healthy mix.
For you win national. You weren't there obviously, but 2014 obviously national championship was humongous. And as someone who has an affinity for the smaller, I'm not an alum. I'm not like connected to Union necessarily, but I have an affinity for schools like yours. I miss the old building, standing in the corner broadcasting games and from the top of a fold out table. So I haven't been to the new one yet, but people always want to know, like, can that happen again? Right? I'm sure you're not going to say no, but. Like, how can you get that, given the landscape that it is right now, and it's seemingly making it harder for the little guy these days? How do you at least get back to that level where you can compete for ECH championships and NCAA appearances at least?
Yeah, I mean, every rule they make right now isn't for a school like Union. It's just not. They don't make the rules for schools like us. So we have to be different. I mean, we have to value our player more. We have to take better care of them on a personal level. You have to, when you say something, you have to mean it. So your integrity, you're going to be looked at more when you say that you're going to have that standard. But, we're okay with that. And we want to have conversations with our guys. We never want to shy away. We want to be a spot where, hopefully win a lot of hockey games, but in 10 to 15 years, we're invited to a lot of weddings, and that, we had an impact in their life, and it meant something to them when we were here. So, so that's our approach as a staff. We want to care more than the average coaching staff.
Without getting into specifics, I guess you're not going to tell me like dollar amounts, but what can the school do anything with these new rules? I know opting in is probably not on the table, but that may be good or bad for you guys. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. We have a collective. We have the 1795 Hockey Collective that's brand new, just kind of started this year. But like at the end of the day, if like paying $5,000 or giving someone 5, 10, whatever the dollar amount is, like I don't know. Like if that's the difference of them coming here or not, then they're not the right player for us. We want someone that wants, like, the Union logo means something to them, and that, the degree does matter here. Like our guys that graduate from here do extremely well after their pro careers.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You like to think that those things still matter to some extent. Certainly I know Cornell is probably the program I know the most, and obviously the Ivy League gives some sort of attraction, I suppose. But once they get to know Union, you like to think it's the same. As for the new arena, like I said, I do need to get up there. I live in Denver now, so it's harder for me, but I am going to get there at some point. But what has that done for you? I'm sure there's obvious answers to that question, but is it night and day? What's it been like for you?
Yeah, it's been really enjoyable, and to me, it's the school put a big investment into this, and I think it's it just shows like how valuable the students are to the school. And I think, is everything we have going to be the best? No, it's really, really good. But it gives them everything they need to have a chance to chase their pro career, as well as get a really good education. So I think it puts you on close to equal footing with everybody. And, it really does make a big difference. And then just for the fans, it's a way better fan atmosphere. So
it's always nice to have a new car, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But last but not least, you're going to Ireland soon, right?
Yep.
What's the plan as far as when you're leaving, practice and all that? And how's that going to work?
So crazy week ahead of us here. So we leave Thursday for Cornell. We'll play Cornell Friday, Colgate Saturday, and then get back on Saturday night or early Sunday morning. And we're getting on a bus and getting to the airport on Sunday, and we'll head out. So,
are you going from Albany, or you got to just bus down to New York?
Bus to Boston and go Boston to Dublin.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So yeah, no direct flights from Albany yet. But that's obviously a cool experience. I don't know. Have you done it before?
Yeah, I was a part of the tournament. Yeah, like 5-6 years, or maybe 7 years ago with Clarkson.
Okay, yeah. The years all blur together at this point. But
yeah,
what can you tell those guys as to what to expect then? I'd love to do this trip myself at some point. But
yeah, it's obviously a different culture, and just kind of going somewhere and seeing how people live. The games are a lot of fun. It's on the Olympic size sheet, so that'll be different as well. Haven't seen that this season, but we play in the first game on Friday, and it's a school game, so like all the kids are there, and they're screaming and going nuts. The whole game back when we played Baby Shark was like the big one. So I'm sure they'll be doing a bunch of 6-7 here this weekend.
Yeah, right. Let's hope that Baby Shark is out. There's something else. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. So, but you go to the schools, you get to really get to see what it's like to be in a different spot and see how people live, and then I just think it's an unbelievable life experience.
Get hurt in a game? We tough it out. Feel exhausted? We push on. Feeling down? We pull ourselves up by the bootstraps. But there are times when bootstraps aren't enough. When stress gets to us and we need to talk to someone about what we're really going through. So we're going to reach out, because sometimes mental health is not a one-person job. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
All right, welcome back here to the College Hockey News Insiders podcast. Josh Hauge in his 4th year as Union coach. They sweep New Hampshire and Lowell. You know, it's hard to say. Like, I've been asked, like, you know, are they for real? Are they for real? They're 8-2-1. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question right now. Those 2 wins were pretty impressive. Brandon Buer, with, you know, the natural hat trick on Saturday, has 10 goals now. And they've got a bunch of transfers, you know, especially their goaltender, Cameron Corpy, who was at Michigan last year. He's been phenomenal. So that is a pot of gold for them right now. Yeah, so, you know, this weekend they play Cornell at Lina, and we'll see how that goes. That'll be probably the biggest test so far. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It probably is. I mean, I know I was asked the same thing a couple of weeks ago. Are they for real? And my thing was, I'm not sure yet. You know, we'll have to see. But, I mean, with every passing weekend, they look more and more for real. That's for sure.
That is true. And, you know, there's just one of those, you know, they open up the new arena this year, so that helps. You know, obviously they won a national championship 11 years ago now, 11 and a half years ago, crazily enough. And, you know, can they get back to those kind of things? Can they even make the NCAAs given all the changes? But that's the question, you know. But they're hanging in there, and Josh Hauge's done a good job getting players in, some good transfers, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. So, all right, listener questions, and we'll start out with Andrew, who asks, for MPI purposes, are Northeastern's non-Matthews quote-unquote home games going to be considered home or neutral? So, for example, they're going to play at Lowell. And that's a very good question, actually.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I'm not sure we have a definitive answer to that yet, but I have heard that they're leaning towards those counting as road games for the purposes of the home road weighting.
It should. That's what it feels like, in my opinion. It should.
The only issue is that in hockey, there is an advantage a little bit, as little as it may be, to being the quote-unquote home team, because you do get last change. So,
yeah,
you know, maybe it should almost be counted like a neutral site. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's a good question.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah, you know, and especially, you know, if you take a look into the numbers, road teams are winning quite a lot these days. They might have to tweak that home road weighting at some point, you know, because it's the home advantage has gone down more, and especially in league games, it's basically non-existent at the moment. So, you know, that could have an overwhelming effect, more than it should have, really, depending on which way they go there. So that is a good question. Let's just say that. But Northeastern is going to be what? I mean, I think next year they still will not have a home, right? It's going to be a while.
No, I believe it's going to be. So I could be wrong. It's the rest of this year, all of next year,
right?
And I think it's even going to go into the year after that by like maybe half a season.
Oh boy, yeah. I mean, I'd imagine building
because
where they're building.
There's no land.
Yeah,
they've got to tear down Matthews,
right?
And then from what I understand, they have to do a ton of foundation work because the building was built over 100 years ago. Like I think it's just like a sand foundation or something like that right now. So.
Yes. They might find some interesting archaeological artifacts.
Yeah, who knows?
The original Matthews burned down in 1918. They rebuilt it over the top of that in 1921. So, it's going to be a similar, I guess, without the fire involved. But yeah, so this weekend, what do we got going on? As we head in towards Thanksgiving. You know, the Big Ten is always an interesting point of attraction. And the highlight there this weekend, I believe, is Wisconsin at Michigan State, since they are both up there in the MPI, although I don't know, just gut feel that Michigan State has looked better than Wisconsin.
I would agree. Yeah, from what I've seen so far.
Even though they're right there near the top of things, and actually Michigan State is actually 8 in the MPI for whatever that's worth at this moment, 4th in Cratch, by the way, and Wisconsin is 2 in MPI and 3 in Cratch. So there you go. But yeah, I expect that to be a pretty big matchup this weekend. Penn State's at Minnesota, so that again, all eyes there. We're not going to say his name again. What else is? Let's see. We always tend to neglect the CCHA here a bit, but Bemidji,
they got a couple of big ones.
Yeah. I mean, Bemidji has been playing pretty well.
They have been, yeah, and they're in Michigan Tech and Minnesota State will play this weekend too. I think they're both top 25. Minnesota State's like top 10, I think, or top 12 in NPI right now. I think they're 11. Michigan Tech is 26, so but 8-3-1. So it's a big series in the CCHA.
Bemidji State has 5 overtime wins, all in the league. That's crazy. If you look at the standings, I was like, how do they? I was looking at it quickly. I was like, how do they have 17 points? They have 2 wins. No, it's 2 regulation wins, 5 overtime wins.
Wow! Yeah, I'm looking at here. They played 6 overtime games.
Yeah, no, it's bonkers. So, and the Michigan Tech is playing well, as you said. They've been doing real well. So going into Minnesota State this weekend will be a good test for Bill Muckalt's team as it stands now. The other one we didn't talk much about. We haven't talked much about all year, but Dartmouth is undefeated.
Yep.
They actually aren't playing this weekend, so we're not even.
They don't play. I was looking at that today. Yeah, they don't play till the 28th. They got Vermont and Merrimack on the 28th and 29th. I was looking at that today because obviously I cover Merrimack too, and they're up there the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and that's almost the next time they play. They play the Friday before on the 28th.
Yeah, so we'll give some more love to Dartmouth as it comes back, but they have not allowed. The only team they have allowed more than 1 goal against is Stonehill.
Yeah.
A 5-2 in a non-league game on the road. But they have allowed just exactly 1 goal in all 5 games against ECAC teams. The first one was against Yale. That was actually a non-conference game that they filled in early on. But, I mean, they are legit, I think. But also last year we did say that they were doing well early, and then they fizzled out a bit. So
5-0-1. Yep, they started 5-0-1 last year, and then had a rough stretch after that. They're 6-0 now, so they're a game ahead of where they were a year ago. But like you said, the big difference right now, I think, is just how well they're defending. Yeah. They're not giving up any goals. They're only giving up like a little over 20 shots a night. They're averaging like 20.9 shots against or something like that. They have the puck the whole time. They're not giving up many grade A chances. It's crazy. Using our the expected goals model we have at CHN, they allowed fewer than 2 expected goals in 3 out of those 6 games.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
That is, not a criticism on their goalies, but that is certainly helping their statistics. But they are splitting time with 2 guys, and Emmett Croteau, who transferred from Clarkson 2 years ago. He played with Dartmouth last year, but currently a .960 save percentage in 3 games. So he is 6'4". He is a 6th round draft pick of Montreal, so it is is certainly feasible. He's kind of coming into his own, but as well. But that defense, like you said, is helping big time. And that's with losing some guys. Some guys have gone to the pros, but C.J. Foley, legit defenseman. He's playing 23 minutes a night, so. Yeah, they have a good team, but I will be looking forward to seeing them more up close and personal here in the next few weeks. So that'll be fun.
They're loaded with home games coming up too. Yeah, they got a lot of road games in the second half. Let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of their next 8 games are at home through the end of December.
That includes hosting Arizona State. Just after Christmas, so
no Ledger Bank Classic this year. They're not doing their tournament. They're hosting Arizona State instead.
I've been to the Ledger Bank Classic a bunch of times. So
same here. I think I've been there 2 or 3 times anyway.
Yeah, All right, what else is going on here? Let's take a look around. Like you mentioned, Union going to Cornell. BU will play Northeastern. BU's got to shape up fast,
They do. Yeah, we didn't get to talk about this last week. I saw them a couple of weeks ago, obviously, back-to-back nights, and we talked about McKenna at the top of the show. I feel like you could say a lot of things we said about Gavin McKenna. You could say about BU in general. Electric when the puck is on their stick, like just unbelievable. Like one of the most offensively talented teams in the country, but they need to play a lot harder and a lot more discipline off the puck. And they also, I think they need to break the puck out better. They that series against Merrimack, they just made some sloppy mistakes in the breakout, turned pucks over, and they just came right back at them. I know Yegorov hasn't been great, but he hasn't been helped either. I mean, their D-zone play was not very good. Not very good at all.
Yeah, their penalty kill is 83%, which isn't terrible. But they are allowing, the only two teams in the country allowing more goals per game than them are Anchorage and Mercyhurst. And the other teams right after them are Ferris State, Robert Morris, and St. Lawrence. So, and Northern Michigan. So they are not in good company there as far as the goal. And it's a lot. I guess a lot of it's 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're allowing 4 goals a game and 34 shots a game.
Yeah. So it's like you said, the high danger chances they're allowing. It's scary. I mean, they've seemed to figure this inconsistency out. I mean, they've made the Frozen Four 3 years in a row. But they've always started slow, by the way, in all 3 of those years. But this is I don't know. The worst is they are 500, so it's not like but they're 5-6-1, so it's not like it's like a disaster. But they have not been defensively this bad in any of those 3 years, though. Yeah.
And, they record-wise, they're about the same as where they were, but I don't think the product has looked this poorly as it has this year.
And Cole Hudson, I believe, might be leading our chip ratings right now. Now, I know you've commented on how, his defensive woes are something to be concerned about, but he's a +8 on a team that has a lot of minus guys, and he's playing 26 minutes a night. So
the 2 games against Merrimack, I think he played 30 minutes back-to-back nights. And it was like a tale of 2 nights. I thought he was not very good at all on Friday, and then I thought he was outstanding on Saturday.
Okay, yeah.
And I wonder if that's what you're getting to a little bit. You're getting just inconsistency. I think Lane had some of the same stuff he had to learn too. Like I said this last week, I'm assuming that throughout his development, as a youth player in midgets and juniors, he probably didn't have to play real hard defensively, and no one really said anything to him because he's Cole Hudson and he was putting up 80 points as a defenseman, so it didn't really matter. The one guy that I feel like is going to be just as big of a return for them, who's also missed the entire season so far because of what BU looks like right now and what they need, is Nick Rukanakis, who's bottom 6 forward. He's a sophomore, but he's 6'2", he's 230 pounds. He just beats the crap out of people, and they don't have any of that. And it almost feels like that's kind of what they've been missing a little bit. I know oddly enough, he scored a goal the other night against Quinnipiac, but it's funny. Like, he's a sophomore, but he's one of the oldest players in the team because he's an 03. And a lot of their juniors and seniors came in at 18 or 19 years old. So do they even have a senior on their roster? I guess Owen McLaughlin's the only senior on their roster. He's also an 03. But he's the same age as Rukanakis, who is a sophomore. So he's one of the older guys on their roster, despite the fact that he's only a sophomore, for a team that is by far the youngest team in the country. And just the elements that he brings, which is not really anything that anyone else in that roster has. I think he's going to be a big addition for them in the bottom 6 over the next couple of weeks. Didn't really help out against Quinnipiac, but I think it'll help out as things move forward because they need some veteran presence. I was looking at this on CHN before the Merrimack series. I knew they were the youngest team in the country. I didn't realize it was by like 10 months on average age. They're 20 years 1 month, and I think, or 9 months. I think the next closest is 20 years 10 months. Like they're almost a full year younger than the next team.
It's actually
the next team.
8 months and change. Just that way. It's Michigan is second.
Oh, is it 8? Okay.
Yeah, 20.1 to 20.9. Boston College is 2011, and then Michigan State, Harvard, Denver. So, yeah, but I mean, that is a significant gap.
But they're 8 months younger than the next closest team.
Yeah, I mean, in order to get 8 months between number 2, Michigan, and the next, to get 8 months from there, you have to go to the 10th spot. So, yeah. So there you go. Anyway, yeah, well, I mean, again, BU a team to keep an eye on. Lots of interesting storylines with them and many other teams. So, that's going to do it. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast. To submit your listener questions, please send them to @CHN News on X. And for the best college hockey content around, including features, the CHN Team of the Week, stats, rankings, and so much more, visit us at collegehockeynews.com. Until next time, we hope you enjoy all of this week's great on-ice action, and we'll be back to break it down on our next edition. For Adam Woden and Mike McMahon, this has been the College Hockey News Insiders Podcast.